Alright, hey, how you guys doing? So this is Neil from MasterPaintingNow.com, one of the top art instructors on Udemy. Have like over 63,000 students now. Happy paying students for my course, or my courses. My most popular course being my Anatomy for Figure Drawing. So in this live stream, I'm just going to do some sketching, and if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask them. So I'll be doing just some, I'm going to start with a live sketch while people, if anyone comes in and watches this nighttime stream here, I'm going to be, let's see here, send out a Twitch really fast, just so people know what's going on there. I'll send out a Facebook thing, just so people know that doing some sketching. There we go. And lastly, I'm going to share this really fast here. Shoot out I am live right now. Sketching people. Alright, cool. So I'm going to start out with this someone like sitting down and just, actually I wonder if I should wait till I have, actually it doesn't matter. Probably won't get very many people watching anyway. So when I think about drawing a person sitting like in a chair or something like that, I want to think about, sometimes it's easier to think about how a pose looks like from the side view than it does from the front view. And so let's go ahead and I'm going to start sketching from the side view first. I'm going to just draw like a little chair, let's say like this and like this. Doesn't have to be pretty or anything. All you're trying to do is just draw what it might look like. And maybe this chair has this little kind of armrest right here. But very, very quick, just where it kind of resembles what you want it to resemble, because you're just, at this point, you're just doing very quick sketches to see if the overall thing looks like you want it to look. So when a person's sitting down, I know that, and also one other thing I don't focus on at this point so much is the actual proportions. I mean, that should kind of be part of your mind now, you know, that you kind of know the proportions, but you can actually just do the sketch to get the idea how you want it to look, and then you could put in the actual, you know, draw it again. Like we're just doing really quick thumbnail type sketches, and then you can draw it again and add in all of the proportions to make sure everything's right. So I got to think about where I want his butt at. So I think the butt will be somewhere around here. So I just kind of draw a circle there for the butt, kind of an oval shape. And then I know that I think I want him kind of leaning forward in the chair a little bit. So I can kind of draw this kind of leaning forward a little bit like that. I can draw the head. I think I want the head kind of facing down a little bit like this. So I'm just kind of represent where I kind of want the head there. And then you have the neck. I'm going to kind of represent where I want the body. So something like so. So something like that. The legs from this view I'm not going to be able to see too much, but I know that the legs come out like this. I like to draw where my knee is going to be, and then just match where the knee is going to be. Maybe where the foot's going to be. Then you can just match the leg coming down to the foot. So from the side view, something like that, and then maybe the arm here, I got to decide where I want the arm to be doing. Maybe the arm is going to come, I could have it come straight down and forward, or I can have it come back. Sometimes it's good to kind of look at yourself and see how you kind of want it. I think I'm going to have this one kind of coming forward a little bit, and then coming down like that with the hand. So after you have something very basic like this, then you can go in and start, you know, thinking about the front view if you want to draw this from front view. That's just like a really quick warm up. Chair's too big, but it's fine because it just gives me an idea where I want to go with it. And it really helps when you've drawn a side view first. It really helps to do the front view easier. And if you have any questions during this time, or any like about drawing figures and stuff and gesture drawing, or just whatever questions you might have, feel free to ask them. So now I'm going to do the front view chair. I'm going to just kind of do a really basic chair here with a kind of perspective to it. So I'm going to have a little bit of perspective here, and we'll have that back backrest. Maybe we'll have the arms coming out like this, so we have some armrest on it. Like so, and then we'll have some legs. Again, just very quick. You don't want to spend a lot of time because you're just trying to get the idea down. Alright, same thing again. I'm going to draw the oval for the butt here. And then I want to decide how I want him sitting. Do I want him kind of sitting like this? Do I want him, you know, like off to the side? Maybe has his hand on his head on his hand. Things like that. So if I do that, I want to have his spine kind of curved like that a little bit, and his head would be somewhere right around here, like so. Maybe a little bit higher than that. I want to have my perspective decent. Maybe the head will be somewhere right around there. And then I can have, if he has his hand on his head's probably coming down like this, so because of the perspective, the shoulders are going to kind of come up like this, right? Because they're not, if your head's up, then you have this distance between your shoulder and your head, but when you're leaning forward, the camera's going to see the shoulders are up higher. And I go through all this kind of stuff in my courses, so masterpaintingnow.com. I have my figure course my figure course is mostly about like body movement and stuff. It goes to a lot of perspective as well, but my new course, the fundamentals of drawing, that one really goes through a lot of the stuff that you need to know, like all the basic stuff that I'm talking about now, like how to figure out the perspective and things like that. So now I have this kind of basic like jelly bean kind of shape here, and that's good. That's kind of what I want there. Probably gonna put them in clothes, but for now this is fine. I just want it to read like something. So right, so that's pretty good. Now the basic shape for the hips that I like to draw is something like Superman underwear, something like this here. So whether it's sitting down, whatever, I like to draw that because that gives me an idea where the legs attach to the body right here. So that's where my legs are going to be attaching. So this makes it think about that in 3D. I can have this arm. Debating how I'm going to make these armrests a little bit higher. I might even have to slouch him down a little bit more. I think this is slouched down enough. I think I can put his elbow right there. Yeah, so that works right there, and then I can have his hand coming up like this. So there's his forearm. Then I can have his hand going around his head, and then I'm going to draw a little part of that kind of fatty tissue right there where the thumb is. At this stage, you're not trying to draw a bunch of detail. You're just you know, maybe his eyes are facing down like that, and this is like more the top of his head. At this stage, you're just trying to work out the gesture and stuff. You're not trying to draw a masterpiece yet. You just want to make sure you can capture the movement you want. So if you want to make changes to the movement, it won't be too hard to change. I think the other arm I'm going to decide on in a second. Let me go to check my stream here, make sure everything's working good. Cool, looks like everything's going good. And we'll close that link out. There we go. Nice. Right, anyway, yeah, so feel free, if you have any questions along the way, feel free to ask them. I could really push his weight into his arm even more if I wanted to, but we can do that with other sketches. Like we can sketch on top of this with a new layer and make those adjustments. So just kind of get the general idea what you want, and then you can push it more toward what you're thinking about after you've worked out the pose. So I know that his knee, when you sit in a chair, your knee either is going to come off, like there's a distance. Here's the knee pit right there. There's distance between the knee pit and the edge of the chair. So typically your legs will kind of come off the edge of the chair a little bit. So I'm going to draw the knee out here, right about out here like this. So I like to draw where my knees are going to be first, and then I know how much to foreshorten the thigh, because I know that this is foreshortened. The thigh, a person this tall, I know the thigh would be about this long before we got into the knee. And we get to the lower part, it'd be something like that, but he's not standing, he's sitting. So something this long is going to become this short, and that's foreshortening. And a way to think about foreshortening really quick before I finish this sketch off, or gesture, sketch, whatever you want to call it, is think about the thigh being like a cylinder. So you draw a cylinder like this, and let's say that's the full length of a cylinder, and then you want to pull it toward you. Like if you take a pin and you pull it toward you, you can see that it gets shorter as it comes toward you. Long, and then it gets shorter. And so then you want to imagine this coming shorter, so that top is going to be a little bit bigger because that's closer to us, and this bottom is going to be a little bit smaller. This is like really exaggerated, but that's what happens. So it gets shorter and wider as it comes towards you, like a cone, until eventually all you see is the front of this thing. You don't see the back of it at all. And then if it starts going down, like you start angling it down like that, you would start to see this back part, you know, like that, as it's angling down. Now it's going down away from us, and then you can, you know, have it go down away from us even more, and make the angle, the triangle, a little less triangle because it's starting to go more toward. And then you can even make it less of an angle like this because it's starting to go down even more. Oops, I don't know what happened there. That was weird. It's the software. And then finally, it's going to be the exact same thing, but now it's going to be upside down and the same length like that. Right, you get the idea. All right, hopefully that makes sense. That's how to think about things. So if you learn how to move basic shapes in 3D in your mind, how to draw basic shapes in from different angles, that's where the fundamentals of drawing comes in. You really want to learn how to master basic shapes from different angles, because then it makes it much easier to do sketches like this. So that's going to be his foreshortened leg, and his knee's going to be somewhere right here, and then he's going to have his lower part of his leg. Now his lower part of his leg is not being foreshortened at all. You can see that the lower part of the leg is just coming straight down. So from the knee down to the floor, it's level with the camera, so it's not going to be foreshortened. And then maybe his foot's going to come out like so. Alright, so now I can do all kinds of things with his other leg. I could have his other leg come out here, for example, and then we can have it come, you know, in this way. Maybe his foot's like this. We can do something like that. That'd be like more relaxed, and we can have this arm. Oops, we can have this arm coming, you know, down across like this, hanging on his, you know, so that's a nice relaxed pose. We can do something like that. Typically, though, let's say this is more of, I don't know, maybe he's waiting for an interview or something. So maybe if he's waiting for an interview, he might lift his other leg up. So in this case, I want his foot here. So I'm going to draw where I want his foot first. So I'm going to go like this. And let's just draw where I want his foot here first, like so. Just going to kind of color that in. So his foot's going to be going across his leg, kind of like a, I don't know, that's not quite Indian style, but then I want to draw where his knee is. So I got to draw a straight line because that bone doesn't bend, and then draw where I want his knee at. So I'm going to have his knee somewhere right around here, and this is going to be his lower legs. That's not going to be foreshortened because it's, again, straight on with the camera. It's not being turned like that. Imagine his leg, you know, it's not being turned away from the camera in any way. So you're going to draw the actual length of that his leg would be if he were standing. So like so, and then this thigh, you can see it's just going to come up right here. It's really foreshortened, and you're just going to see a little bit of the thigh right there, like that. And that's pretty much it for his legs. And then I'm going to erase all that so you can kind of see it better. So it's in the it's in front of everything else. All right. So next we're going to draw his arm. How his arm's going to be. So we can have his arm, like I said, you can draw his arm coming like straight out like this, and then we can have it coming forward like this, maybe like that, and then his hand can be going into his thigh. So it's kind of like going from the side view. This arm is kind of be going back like this first, and then coming forward, something like that. So if you need to figure out, well, how far, just know the length. So here's the length there, then you need that same length. How far can his arm go forward? That's about halfway on his thigh. Then his hand would be like that. So if you draw it back like that, from the side view, you can see about how far his hand can go. In other words, you're trying to figure out how far can he extend his hand if his arm is back. So if his arm is back like this, how far could he possibly extend his hand? Well, he can pull his shoulder. He can have his arm back with his shoulder forward. So you can take that whole entire shape and draw his shoulder forward like this, but his arm still has to be back. And then draw that same length here. The same length is from shoulder to elbow, from elbow to wrist. And now you know that's how far his hand can be, right? That's if he's putting his shoulder forward. So working it out in the side view is a good idea to get an idea what it's going to look like, you know, from the front view. At least you can know how far the hand go. If I have the arm coming down like this toward us a little bit, then I know I can have his hand pretty much on his knee if I have his arm coming out like that. So just trying to think how I want his arm. I kind of like it like that. Kind of like his arm going back and then coming forward and being right here on his thigh. So like that. So his hand is just wrapped on his thigh. That's pretty cool. So then from there, we can go ahead and add other things. I don't think I need this anymore. Just wanted to show you guys like how you can use that and think about things you want to change. And then from there, we can go ahead and maybe draw him to where he's leaning more into his hand or something. Hey, thank you, Eric. I appreciate it. Appreciate the comment. That's awesome. So I could either move on to another sketch really quick. I was thinking about maybe doing a sketch of, well, I like to draw females. I draw a lot of females, and I was like, something that I notice people struggle with sometimes, it seems like, is a nice back pose with a good butt. And you can also translate that to a man butt. You have to just change the idea to a guy's butt, the anatomy to a man's butt. But I think I want to mess with the sketch a little bit more before if I go on to the next pose I want to mess around with. So I'm going to go ahead and make a copy of him. Right now I'm using PaintStorm, by the way. Usually I would do this kind of sketching in Photoshop. I could open Photoshop and do that. But I just want to show the power of PaintStorm. It does more than just painting Bob Ross style. I mean, it's awesome for painting Bob Ross style. It's great for painting, you know, traditional type looking paintings, even fine art. But it's also really good for sketching and stuff. This is one of the pencils. These come with the software, so here's another pencil right here. This one's pretty nice. It's more smooth, but it has a nice light touch to a heavy touch. You can see I just get a really nice, and then you got this pencil. This one's kind of neat because it looks, it has tilt. So if I lift my pen up like this, straight up and down, you'll see it change. See that triangle changes? That side, straight up and down. Now when I draw a line, see how it's like a straight line? And I can get, you know, light lines and I can get dark lines. And you see it has a nice texture to it as well. Let me go make sure this is actually, that's full pixel right there. Now if I tilt my pen, like instead of straight up like down, I can tilt it like this and draw. Notice now when I make my lines, it's more like I have my pencil on its side. See, I'm making more like a sketch. See that? Go dark to light. Really nice for shading. So it's as if I'm taking my pencil on my paper sideways, and that's the kind of look you get when you do that. I like this pencil for when I want to do a little bit of shading. It looks nice. You can just kind of add, you know, a little bit of shading into your drawing, and it looks nice. It looks kind of like you shade it with a pencil. Bam. And so anyway, really nice for that. I'm gonna go back to, I think I like pencil hard. Let me see, pencil grain is pretty nice too, but it's more grainy. It's nice for making final lines, but for sketching I don't like it so much. So I'm going to use this one. Pencil hard is what I've been using. I like that for sketching. It has a little bit of, you know, I can get really light lines with it, I can get thicker lines with it, and it has a little bit of pencil texture to it, which I like. Anyway, so yeah, this is PaintStorm. It's only $20. You own it for life. You get free updates forever. Can't beat that. To make a duplicate of the layer, this is where it works differently than a lot of other programs, like in Photoshop and Clip Studio Paint and stuff. I can just drag this down to the new layer and it'll make a new layer. It doesn't do that here. You have to right click on the layer and choose Duplicate Layer. So now I have a copy of that layer, and now I have two copies of this drawing if I wanted another copy. Anyway, in this case I just want to make a new layer, a blank layer on top of it. I'm going to turn this layer down. Here's another thing that's cool about PaintStorm is it automatically has a background color there, as you can see. If I was in Photoshop, this is the bottom layer, there's no layer below it. If I were to turn the opacity down on the bottom layer, you would just see the checkered board showing that it's a transparent layer. This one, notice there's no checkerboard, it just keeps it white, so you don't have to make another layer behind it and make it white. So I'm going to turn it down to about there so I can still see. And then usually what I'll do is I'll switch to different colors. So I'll start sketching in blue or something. And it just makes it easier to see what I'm doing. And then usually at this point I like to zoom in so I can really see what I have there and how I want to change it. So let's say we want to really push his arm or push his head into his arm more. So we could either push his head into his arm more by having him come forward toward the camera, or go sideways like this, which means his arm, his elbow has to move, right? Because remember, this is stiff. From here to here, that's stiff. That doesn't bend or warp. And it's not going to go forward or toward the camera, so it's not going to get foreshortened. Unless his head comes forward, then his arm might come forward too, like this, you know. So I'm just deciding how I want to do that. So if his head comes straight down, like if I move his head this way to the side, and I reposition over here, the hand has to go here, which means the elbow either has to come in like this now, or it has to come out and has to come forward toward us a little bit. So that's what I'm thinking about right now. Go ahead and erase that. So I'm going to go ahead and move his head first. That's what I like to do. I like to think about how I want the pose to look first, and then I adjust the arms to fit that. So I want his body to kind of maybe slouch over here more like this. So his spine, instead of being like that, I think I want his spine to be more like this. And therefore his whole entire body is going to be over here more. Like that maybe. And then his head would be over here more as well. And then his arm would be here. Well, that would be his hand. And then his arm would come straight down. I'm trying to think like that. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them. If you have any requests that you want me to sketch, maybe there's certain kinds of poses you're having issues with and you want a little bit of help with them, feel free to ask that as well. And if I do that, it might push his head forward. I guess if he goes to the side more like this, if he has this pressure on his palm here against his chin, it's going to push his head like that, right? Because it naturally just pushes your chin out. If it's more back here and you go, it just kind of pushes it straight. So I think I'm going to turn his head some more. So I think I need to go like this. Sometimes what I like to do is I like to draw the actual round part of the head first, like the skull. Then I'm going to draw where I want the head going like this. And this is the part you attach to that, the lower part. So it's like a perfect circle and you attach that lower part to it. And what's cool about this, once you draw the head, you can actually take the lasso tool and then edit, free transform. I can move it even more. I can really mess around with this. This is harder to do with pencil. See, that's nice. That's kind of what I was thinking. So now it's instantly done. And I got to make something visible here that's not visible. Let me see if I just hit enter. Does that? Okay, you can hit enter on the keyboard. That automatically does it. But normally there's this, let's see here, view, graphic, I think it's a graphic presets. Let me see. No, that's not it. View, tool options. So usually this is available. So if I do that again and I go to edit, free transform, if I move it a little bit, you can see up here is where I say yes or no to. If I say okay, then that's the way you accept it. So, and you can move this wherever you want to move it. You can move it up here like that. That's how I usually like it. That way it's on. That way it doesn't mess with it's not over my drawing. It's its own separate thing. Anyway, so thanks for the follow. Much appreciated. Akshata. I don't know if I pronounced that at all right, but Akshata. Thank you for the follow or subscription. Sorry, I thought it was on Twitch. I usually stream my other channel on Twitch. But yeah, thanks for the follow or subscription. Philosopher says, what program are you using? This is called PaintStorm. PaintStorm. It's only $20, and then you own it for life. And if you haven't seen me use this software for doing my Bob Ross paintings, you might want to check those out. Really cool. It's I made a bunch of brushes for it specifically for emulating Bob Ross style painting, and I have those brushes for free on my website. So, all right, cool. So I kind of like that. See, now it looks more like he's like really just like bored and almost like falling asleep. Now I can pull this arm out more, and let's go ahead and finish. I'm going to finish off his thighs and stuff, and we can add a shirt. We can decide what kind of shirt he's wearing and how it fits on there. And this will be his pants. So his lower leg is pretty much going to stay the same. And then we'll have have come out to his foot here. So I'm kind of turning this into pants now, like so. Alright, so now he's wearing pants. I'm going to kind of shade that part in. And then this was going to be his foot here. Dark sock maybe, shoe. So what I did there is notice that the pant leg is right alongside his bone right here, because it's going to be resting against his bone. The rest of the pant leg falls down because of gravity. So what you wouldn't want to do, if I redrew this leg, what you wouldn't want to do is, let's say this is the pant leg coming out like this. What you want to do is draw the ankle here and then draw the foot. That would make no sense, because the pant wouldn't stay like that, right? It wouldn't just float. This would just be floating. The pant would fall down, rest against his leg, and then gravity would pull the rest of the pant leg down like so. So it'd be more like that. I'm trying to like think of as many tips as I can while I'm just going through a sketch process, so that way we can get I can get rid of that now. I don't need that anymore. Actually, I might just go ahead and leave it just for the. Let me go ahead and just re-add some of the chair back in there, just so I have a basic idea where I know where the chair is at. His leg is resting on this arm right there. This would be all dark and shadow, and then I might have just the back of the chair maybe like that. Okay, now I don't need that layer no more. So now I can figure out what I want this arm to do. Yeah, I think that works pretty good. Right now I have him in a shirt, so what I don't want is a tangent line. So notice that right here there's a tangent line where this all is one line right now. I don't like that. Tangent lines typically don't look good. It makes it harder to decipher what's happening. And so what I mean by that is this part of his forearm looks like one line. It looks like his bicep area and his shoulder is the same line as his forearm, and I don't want that. So instead I want the arm to come in like this, and then I want the forearm to come out a little bit like that. See, now there's this like step right here, see that? And that changes the shape and it makes it read better. Alright, let's come in here with the shirt. I'm going to come straight down like that with the shirt shape. Let's say there's some wrinkles in it or something. And then this would be like sometimes I like to draw like where I think the seam. This would be like the seam of the shirt, and then the shirt's going to come off like that. So I like to kind of imagine that. I can always erase it later. So again, I'm thinking about whether or not I want his arm back before. I think I liked how it was before. That's fine. It looks semi-relaxed, but he looks maybe not super relaxed. Then I can have this arm coming down and kind of forward toward us a little bit like that, and it goes into his and then his hand like that. So his hand is going down. His hand is being hidden by the leg. The leg's overlapping the hand. So something like that. That's pretty cool. Let's see here. What else could I do? I'm just trying to think what else I might want to change. I'm liking that pose though. That looks nice. And that arm kind of going like that. I don't think I can do anything else with that arm to make it look better. Thank you for the subscribe there. Giorchi, I don't know how to pronounce that. You guys are giving me hard names to pronounce here. I'll just say Gior Chisi. I don't know. Gior Chisi. Alright, cool. So I think that's good for that post. And then now we have a pose to work with. So then you might want to save this, So I'm going to go ahead and zoom back out here, like so. And then you can take this and use a selection tool, then the move tool, and just kind of move it where you want it, like so. And that way you can fill up pages with different kinds of sketches. And if you want to keep the original sketch too, just in case you might ever use that, you can do that too. So here's the original, And I'll move it over here as well. Maybe I have it right next to him like that. So you can see how much I changed, and you can see whether look at them side by side and see what pose you like better. And it's good whenever you do sketches like this. It's good to keep those poses. So fill up a sheet full of poses, and then save that sheet on your computer, and save it for later, because you might one day be thinking about a drawing or a painting or something, and you're like, hey, wait a minute, I already came up with a pose similar to that. And you can just go right back to that and then use that pose and just change it a little bit. And that's faster than having to come up with a whole new pose. Alright, cool. So I try to make my live streams safe for work. So now I'm going to do another drawing, this time of a female figure. And I'm going to kind of give some tips on, unless you guys have something else you want to see, you have some, feel free to ask for. Maybe you're working on a pose, or just have some question about gesture drawing, or maybe when the arms are raised or something, like issues you're having with the pose. Yeah. So for example, I'll do that with the pose I was talking about. So let's say I wanted to do a pose a backside pose, and I want to make sure I really nail the butt. You want to nail that butt, make it look good, and then you can put it in jeans or whatever you want to put it in. I typically draw the figure in kind of loose nude, but it's more like a mannequin. You're not using a lot of detail for that. Oh, by the way, I have an entire course on gesture drawing where I go into the C curve, S curve, straight lines, and how to utilize all that. So it's a whole course on just gesture drawing on my website. It's on sale right now for, I think, $10. And so if you go to, it's pretty popular on Udemy as well. My most popular course on Udemy has like 45,000 students. Hey, thanks for the subscription, much appreciated. Let me go and look at that real quick. Mongrel, thanks for the sub, much appreciated. But let me go ahead and I have to go over here to post it because it won't let me post it in OBS for some reason. So it's masterpaintnow.com. It should be in the description as well, but just in case. And I'm going to go ahead and copy that so I have it for later. But yeah, so if you go to the courses page there, I have a whole entire course on gesture drawing, and you can get it for $10 right now on that link. Just go to the courses and click on it, and by clicking on it, it'll take you to Udemy, and then it'll automatically apply the code by just clicking on the link on the page. So, all right, cool. So let's go ahead and use the CSI. It sounds like we're talking about figuring out a crime scene or something. But we'll use that idea to come up with this pose. So I want the basic idea of the pose. I kind of want her hips kind of shifted off onto one leg, and that way it's kind of pushing the butt out a little bit, which is going to make it come at an angle. So instead of being straight, it's come at an angle. But when I do that, I need to think about how what gesture lines work for that. So one is having that C curve. So I can think about the C curve, a slight C curve like that. That would be, for her upper body. But then the leg is going to come, out, and the leg's going to come down like this. And so that kind of makes an S curve. So I can go, oh, wait a minute. So what if I just make an S curve then? So I can think about this whole entire pose as like an S curve like that. And so that's how it's kind of like thinking through the pose you're going to do. Now I'm thinking about this before I even got it. It's sometimes a good idea to start, let's say at least do the jelly bean thing, where you have the basic idea of the pose you want, and just kind of work out. That's too sloppy. So I like to work with basic shapes. So you have something like, we'll have her leg coming this way. So you have like something like that, and this would be her head, let's say, and it's going to go behind her shoulders. Maybe her arm will come out like this, and this arm will come down like this. So really quickly with that, and then I can go, and you can see where that S curve applies now. So after I kind of roughly sketch it out, then I can come back through here and start to figure out the curves I want. And then I have this straight line here, where I'm having that straight line just come right off of the S curve. So sometimes but you want one line of action that really describes the whole pose. In this case, this pose is described with the S curve, and everything else that comes off of that, in this case straight lines, are just complementary to the overall main pose. This is where her weight is at, and it's pushing her hips up like this. Once I have that down, then I can go ahead and start, working from there. Notice just really quick scribbles, like some people like to do, like notice I did a lot of scribbles here, and I didn't even lift my pen. I just kind of went like this, not even lifting my pencil, just making lines connecting. And sometimes I can see better with that. You might want to just, be more clear and precise with your shape and come, you might want to just come straight like that. It all depends on how you work. That's obviously faster, but if you can do it in straight motion, like straight curves, that's good. I just like to get something going, and then I'm gonna work on a different layers. I'm gonna turn that layer down, work on the layer I have above it. So now I can start kind of seeing what I want there. So I want this upper body, and I want her rib cage to come down like this. If you guys have any questions along the way, like I said, feel free to ask them. I'm deciding if do I want her head down like that, or do I want her head up like this. So let's try that. Let's kind of curve the spine back up this way, where her neck is going to be, like so. And then I like to draw the head. So if it's kind of a side view, I'm going to draw the round part of the head first. And when your head's front, this is thinner. When you move your head to the side like this, it's thicker this way. That is, it's wider. It's wider from the side view. So I need to make it slightly oval from the side view, like this. The reason why I'm sketching this color is, I don't know, I like doing my female drawings in this color. It's my favorite color too. This is fuchsia. So if I have the ear somewhere like that, and the neck coming off, then I got to think about the jaw is going to come out this way. Something like that. And have the neck come off. Come on, draw already. Have the neck come off like that. Yeah, so it's kind of a side view, not really seeing the back too much. And then her shoulder going to come out here. And then this shoulder here. Right, so that kind of works pretty good. I like that so far. I'm really pushing her weight, so she's on this leg here, and she's really pushing her weight out this way. But her upper body is keeping it from going that way too much, so it's pulling it back. But that's where the weight is going to push up. The weight is really going to push up into her hips here. Next, I want to go ahead and finish off her back rib cage. I imagine the rib cage kind of like this. So I'm also thinking about anatomy now as I'm just kind of doing this sketch. So it's no longer that very first initial sketch. That was the gesture. Notice I did the gesture in like 30 seconds. At this point now, you're kind of thinking more about stuff. You're kind of thinking about the anatomy a little bit. Maybe you're thinking about the proportions, things like that. So you're thinking more through the drawing at this point. Because her body's turned, her upper body, I could make her upper body turn more this way. Like right now, it's kind of turned like that, right? I could turn it back around this way like that, and we might be able to see a little bit of side boob here if I were to turn it. But right now, it's actually turned more this way. So if anything, I would see a little bit of side boob on this side right now. And then I wouldn't be able to see any of the side rib cage, I don't think, though. Maybe a little bit like maybe just like that much. That'd be like the side view of the rib cage, maybe. Just debating whether or not I want her turned that way. I don't think I want her turned that way, though. I'm gonna get rid of that. Hold on. Just thinking through. And this is the process when you're working out a new pose. This is the part that can take a while to figure out when you just want to really figure how you want. But anyway, the main part I wanted to focus on with this pose was a good butt pose. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull this arm, just kind of, that's her deltoid. I'm going to kind of just pull her tricep down. Right here you have the little muscles and then the elbow. Something like that for now. Also this arm here, here's her deltoid, here's her triceps. Comes out this way, and then she has her elbow here, and then she has those little bones, I forget what they're called now. I go through all the names in my anatomy course. I don't dedicate that stuff to my memory though, because it's just too much to dedicate. Dedicating all the names of everything, of anatomy-wise, just takes forever to dedicate to memory. So, hey, thanks for the follow there. Pornography art. So I want to remember there's a midsection. So you have basically you have your, this is like your rib cage. Then you have this like middle section. I like to think of that the rib cage attaches to like this, almost like a ball. Like think about those wooden figures that has the ball in the center between the hips and the rib cage. Then I imagine the hips being connected to that same ball and coming off like this, and this is my hips right here. So that's kind of how I think about it when I'm working out the anatomy. So I can easily move this top part here, and it will come like this, but that it's still going to be attached to the ball here like that. See, and that would be like a side side view like that, like bending to the side. So the hip is going to really touch here, but this is going to be stretched out like that. And then maybe this is where the breast would be or something. You get the idea. That's the shape I like to think of when I'm working with the figure. Everyone works differently, so whatever shapes work for you. If the bean bag thing works for you, or potato sack, just whatever shapes work for you. Alright. Hopefully my mic is still working, because I just heard it go dun-dun-dun-dun, but usually it still works when it does that. Hopefully it does. Okay, let's go ahead and pull the spine. I like to pull the spine right into that first butt crack. That's kind of how I think about this pose and how I think about the back in general. So right here, this is where I have that part where it connects to the round shape, right? So I'm imagining that round shape there. I'm just not drawing it, and I'm pulling that, and then that's going to be like this, and this will have this kind of shape like that part of the hip there. And then this is going to really stick out, and the widest part of the female figure is actually not her hips, it's actually her crotch line. So if you imagine this being the front view, coming out here to, to the hips here, that is the widest part of the female body right there, right at the crotch. So let's say this is the crotch line right here. Draw already. That's the crotch. This is the widest part of the female body right there. So I imagine this shape right here. This is a good shape to have for a female. This comes up here, the belly button somewhere right around here. And then we come up like that. And then we have the breast would fall somewhere around this area like this. And then you come in. Then you have the knees, and then you come out for the part of the calves. Right, that's the basic shape that I think of. I call it the mini skirt. Because that kind of looks like a mini skirt, so it works really good for me to think about how the female figure looks. Alright, so I'm going to pull this out, and then I'm going to I got to think about how I want the butt to look now. So let's get into the butt, because the butt can be difficult to draw. So I have this first, I imagine this little triangle part up here, that little triangle piece, that little triangle I think is the fulcrum, whatever, I think that's what it's called. That's what it's called. I can't remember what that's called, where you have these little dimples. Not everyone has them, but anyway, I imagine a little triangle shape that works really good. Notice too, when I pull my lines, I pull them deliberately and smoothly. I don't necessarily, when I'm at this part of the sketching, this is where I move more slower with my pencil. And so here I want this butt cheek is going to come down like this, right? The shape of the muscle is like that, and the shape of this muscle is coming over like this because of how we're viewing it. So that's the shape of that's the anatomy of the muscles that are underneath the butt. But that's not how it's going to look because she has fat tissue as well. But that's the basic shape of the muscles. But now I'm going to think about how is the fat going to look. So with the fat coming down, I'm going to just kind of stop somewhere right about here, and then I'm going to kind of continue coming around. I'm working out in my mind here, debating whether I want to connect that or not. This leg will come out like this, come down. Maybe you'll see a little bit of the knee there. So come wrapping around her front side, you would have her, this would be like the front side here. Now I'm drawing it from the front view for a second to imagine that the crotch would be somewhere right around there, and the leg would come off like that. Sometimes it helps to draw through and imagine where everything is at. Or instead of just imagining, try to draw through. Alright, so I'm kind of liking that. Let's see here. I'm liking that shape right there for the outer part of the butt. the butt, but this part here, I think I want to come like this more. No, actually, it would be longer because her muscle's really being stretched. So let's stick it, make it more natural. You can come up with all kinds of, you know, interesting shapes for butts. And then I'm just deciding what part not to. I need a break in that line somewhere. So I think we're about there. And this shape here is nice. I like that shape right there. And we can get rid of some of this now. So her leg's going to come off here, somewhere right about here. That's going to break out like this. Remember, the muscle is going to go like that, but I don't want it to look like that, obviously, because we have fat tissue. When the fat tissue, it's going to rest on the leg, so the fat tissue is going to fall, and it's going to kind of rest on the thigh a little bit. And that's going to cause this kind of shape like this, where you have that the muscle kind of pushing into there, and then the thigh is going to come off. Yeah, because it's still the widest part. And in some women, actually, this might just be all one shape like that, and then come down. So you might not even be able to see, because it's kind of the way the angle is. It's kind of making one shape with the butt. The outside of the butt is making one shape with the thigh, and that looks pretty cool. It looks nice, but I think I'm gonna go back to where I had it like that. I'll see how this works first and see if I don't like it, I can change it. So now I got too much line. Hold on. It was getting too, my line work was getting too thick. You might be able to see a little bit of the knee right there. So something like that. That looks nice. So there you go. Worked through a butt pose. These are some of these poses can be quite challenging from your imagination. So, you know, take your time. Just work through it. You might have to look at some references just to make sure everything's working right. You're probably not going to be able to find exact reference, but you can always use, you know, DAZ Studio, the 3D models, or, you know, that are free. You can maybe use the 3D model that's in Clip Studio Paint or something like that, just to get a rough idea. Then we have the calf muscle comes up, and I like to actually draw that calf muscle coming up into the back of the leg. From the back view, I like to draw it like that. Then we're going to come down to the Achilles tendon and the outside of the heel here like this. And then this isn't the back. It's hard to explain how this is. If you're viewing the back of the heel and then the foot's going forward away from us, you're mainly going to be viewing the back of the heel right here, and then the front of the foot is coming, you know, like that, like this way. So it's being foreshortened, so you're only seeing a part of that front of the foot, and that's going to be her outer toe. So it's actually going to be her pinky. Oh no, hold on, never mind. That's the inside of her foot. Sorry, this is the inside of the foot. We're going to be seeing her big toe. So this would be like her big toe right there, and then her other toes go back that way. But most of that foot is going to be covered by this leg coming. This is actually a very difficult thing to draw. So if it takes a few times, don't worry about it. It's not easy. The leg is going to come forward. You're going to see a little bit of the Achilles tendon here, like that. So that's the actual heel. And then you're still going to see some of the front of the foot coming in front of that. So a little bit of the front of the foot is going to come down at an angle, and it's going to still block some of that, like so. We're going to see the actual, that little bone right there, the ankle bone, and then that's going to come forward like that, and then you're going to be able to see the foot, and then the angle, this edge of that foot and that toe and your big toe, that whole entire slope of the foot is going to block most of the other foot, and then the other toes are going to be behind that. So I'm going to draw the other toes in shadow like that, something like that. And then we'll draw this leg here. I'm imagining that front muscle. That's not a back muscle. That's actually a muscle that appears in the front, from the front view only. the serratus muscle, but I'm just kind of imagining where that is so I can get an idea. Remember that when you're drawing calf muscles, the inner calf muscle extends down further than the, how do I explain that? So notice how this calf muscle, there's an angle. So the point, the widest point is there, and the widest point is there. See that? And so it's at an angle. So when you draw the calf muscle, you have the knee coming down like this. You have the serratus muscle, and it comes out like this. That serratus muscle blocks the other calf. So then, let's imagine that's a thigh up there. Anyway, when you come down here, the first widest point is like that. The second widest point is at an angle. So it comes down like this. So that's how the calf looks from the front view. And then you have from the outside, let me make sure I got this right. Yeah, from the bone from the outside to the inside. So you have that curve, that bone that comes from the outside like that. And it kind of has that blade because it kind of goes, actually it's going to go from the outside to the inside. My bad. I did that backwards. From the outside, yeah, that blade is going to kind of come like that. That shin bone blade. Anyway, so serratus muscle kind of makes this, that if you follow the serratus muscle down to that blade, it kind of makes that shape. I don't know if that helps memorizing it, but alright, let's get back to this here. I'm going to answer that question. I saw there's a question in there. Oh, I forgot to erase all this. Yeah, so this calf muscle comes down like that more. That one starts up there. Like the shapes, how it looks. At this point, I can get rid of the, I'm gonna look at the chat here. At this point, I can get rid of, I'm debating where I want the floor, a spot like that. So, cool. Yeah, I mean, it's good to draw from references at first. There's an ankle here. That's the ankle bone. The heel's back like this. This one is a little bit, her legs kind of turned a little bit more to the side. Now we're looking at the outside of her foot. So we're seeing the pinky side of her foot. And that's going to come straight down. You're going to have the, actually, you know what? That ankle bone's going to stick out more than that, I think. Because yeah, let's do that. This is coming down here. The ankle bone is literally right about there. And it's actually sticking out. You can actually see it from this angle. It would be sticking out like that, and then the foot would come like this, and you would see where the pinky is, something like that. And then because of shadows and stuff, this would, you know, would come like this. I'm gonna get rid of that. I'm gonna disappear the layer underneath right now, so I don't have to see that. Now I just want to focus on, yeah. That's about right. And then I'm working out in my mind here. So yeah, then this would all be like in shadow right here, because this is going to be the ankle, and then this is, the ankle would be partly in shadow too. But the back of the heel here, this is what's not in shadow. This is coming straight at us. So that angle is kind of like, depends where I'm drawing the shadow from. I always imagine the lighting the same. So whenever I draw, when I'm doing gesture drawings or sketches, I always do the lighting from the same view. And then unless I'm trying to work for a very specific piece, which is like this, my lighting is something like this. So it's like above the person, and then off to the right of the person, and then toward the camera a little bit. That's my default lighting. That's whatever default lighting works for you. But that's the default lighting that works on my brain, and that's what I think about whenever I'm drawing. So just to kind of show what that would look like, the back of her head is all going to be in shadow, like so, and the bottom of her chin, and then maybe a little bit of the neck would be visible in light, but all this right here is going to be in shadow, like that. And I'm going to use the other pencil. I'm going to use this pencil. Where is it at? The tilt pencil. Yeah, see that? Now I can really get, it allows me to really shade. And believe it or not, because the light's coming down like this, it's actually going to be hitting that area of the butt that's sticking up toward the light. So that whole plane, typically that dip is where you don't get light. That's where you get shadow. But in this case, it's going to be, actually, I'm going to use the other pencil. I liked it better. Use the hard pencil, because I can just draw the lines and then fill them in. So this whole lower back, I know this whole plane here is getting light, so I'm not going to be putting shadow there. Come on, delete my line. The light's coming from above toward a little bit. So this arm, I could pull this arm back more. I didn't draw it back. I could pull this arm here. I could pull it back more. I'm gonna leave it like that for now. And I think her arms might be a little bit short. These are her elbows, by the way. This arm might actually come down. So if I had her elbow like this, I could come down with her forearm. And maybe her hand is here somewhere. Maybe her hand's like on her leg, on her thigh. And then this arm is probably coming back up toward her chest or something. Yeah, I like that. Okay, so then I gotta think about the lighting. So let's finish this real quick with the lighting. You obviously have the spine, so this is like a dip. Remember, it's a dip in like that. So if the light's coming from the right-hand side, this side of the spine is gonna be lit up with light. This side of the spine is gonna have the shadow. So I'm just gonna kind of draw a thin line like that, and that would be like where the, part of the spine that's in shadow. But typically, you're not really gonna see that much anyway. But just kind of, that's where I would draw it. You'd have her shoulder blades and all that. I'm not going to worry about her shoulder blades and stuff right now. I'm just worried about, this is a very basic sketch, so I'm just kind of, a little bit of this might be in shadow right there. A lot of this arm's going to be in shadow because it's kind of, she's at kind of a slight angle and where the light's coming from. So a lot of this right here would be in shadow like this. This whole, almost the whole entire lower arm would be in shadow like that, but the light is still going to come through her body and her arm, so it's coming, there's still light over here that's going between and hitting her arm here, because it's her, if I imagine this from a side view, there's a good angle between her arm and her stomach, so it's not blocking the light there. And then this, how you shade the butt really can make a difference on how the butt looks. So I'm going to come up with the light all the way like this. We're going to add some nice roundness to the buttocks, and that really comes down to how you shade it. So like that, and then the thigh muscle is going to come down like this, and that whole side of her leg like that, and then a little bit of her heel down here would be actually in light because the light's coming that way. There's a love handle here. So I might come like that. Something like that. There might be a little bit more in shadow here. Some more of that might, the whole upper back might be in shadow more. Depends on how it's not turned enough, I don't think, though. This leg is sticking out to the side, and so the light should hit most of it. We're going to have a nice shadow like this, though. Really showing that particular shape and muscle. Then there's the indent of the calf here. I can really show that by having more shadow there, but come up right there with the light hitting there, and then this side is not going to be hit as much with shadow because how it's shaped, something like that. That's just a really quick sketch, but you get the idea. And you can either leave it that side or you can shrink it down. So after I finish sketches, I'm going to go back to this layer. I'm going to delete the under sketch. So this was the initial gesture drawing. Notice just a few lines is all you need for the gesture. You don't need a lot of detail to capture the movement that you're trying to get. Then we drew that on top of the gesture. So I'm going to get rid of the gesture. I don't need it no more. So I'm going to cut that. Then I'm going to take this layer and free transform. Use the shift key to get perfect change in size. Hit OK, and there she is. Okay, cool, all done. So that's kind of how I work through it. I do a quick gesture drawing. Sometimes, so I showed you two different things so far. If you haven't watched from the beginning, this will be archived on YouTube, so you can watch it later once it finishes processing, and you can watch the whole video that way. But notice when I did this guy, I didn't do the same kind of gesture as I did her. I kind of was more mechanical about it. I thought more about shapes, 3D blocks working together, and that helped me with that pose, I think, easier than gestures. And you can always then take a pose like this and think about the gesture and re-add it back in. So you can go, okay, well, he has this kind of C curve right here to his body, and then this kind of straight line coming down like that. And that might be the main shape of that gesture. And you can emphasize that more if you wanted to. Like do another sketch and emphasize that gesture more. Oh, you mean draw the same pose and have her facing forward? Is that what you're saying, Baron? With big titties. Yeah, I tend to do a lot of that. I'm trying to keep my live streams more family friendly, I guess is what. Yeah. Basically. Let me go ahead. I have to click on this other. Here we go. For those that are late here. What? I thought I copied that. Hold on. Why is it not pasting it? Okay, I got to type it again. Hold on. If you guys want to get my free brushes for this course or for this software, they're on that website, masterpaintnow.com. Just click on the subscription part, the free subscription, and then I'll have my my brushes. There's a link to my brushes there, and also there's a link on how to install them, how to get them to work in PaintStorm. And so I do that for like my Bob Ross type paintings and stuff, so it's really cool. But yeah, basically, I've been doing more like for the live shows, the live streams. I've been doing more of like Bob Ross type painting stuff, and so that's why I'm thinking I want to keep it more family friendly for the live show, just because that's what. But no, I guess if people see me sketching people, then they probably already stopped watching, I imagine. So I don't know, maybe we'll do a front view. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, it is just anatomy. I'll keep it. I'll try to keep it as family friendly as possible. How about that? All right. So we already know how the pose works. So the pose it's got the C curve coming this way, and then we want to push that hip out like this, and we want to come down with the leg. We want the foot to come out like this, and then we want this leg to come, out like that, maybe on our tippy toe. So this is kind of it's kind of a reverse of what we did before, reverse shape of gestures. And thank you for the subscription there, Reynold. Reynold. I think that's how you'd say that. Right. So that's the basic thing we want to do, and then I could have her head looking the opposite way. So if I did an exact opposite, it would be like this, because her head, her ear, her chin coming down like this, right? So that would be looking that way. So we're just kind of doing the exact opposite. Her neck kind of flows this way, back of her head into the neck. Trying to think of the shoulders should be kind of slanted, I think. Yeah, we'll kind of slant the shoulders. Hold on, like that. I'm going to kind of come through with the overall shape here again. So here's we'll kind of do the, here, let's do this right here. That's kind of where the crotch is, or the crotch is, right about here. But let's do that skirt shape I was talking about. So right following that crotch, let's do that skirt shape, like so. So we'll kind of block this one out more. And then that's the widest part of the hip coming down here, like so. And then you have the lower leg, like that. And then you have this outer leg here, which attaches to, like so. And then you're going to have the foot coming down like this. So that's the lower part of the body. And remember, we're kind of twisting her up. So let's draw the circle. This is where you attach the skirt shape that I showed you guys before. Remember, this is the skirt shape here. The skirt shape attaches to that ball, and that's the widest part of the female body. Then you have the lower part down here, like so. Then the upper part is where that rib cage attaches to this ball. And remember, you can take that rib cage and you can put it wherever you want. You can attach it to that ball like that, so you can bend the parts around, kind of like a wooden mannequin. So that's what I'm thinking about. That's the process of my thought process here. And so let's go ahead and take that shape, and I think I'm going to rock it up. Well, and this one I have it kind of off to the angle. I think it would look, from the front view, I think it would look better if I rocked it straight up like that, honestly. That way it's kind of up and then kicks out like that. That really kicks that hip out. So I think having this straight up and down and that like this, that shape, kick that out coming down, I think that shape reads better for this pose for the front view. Maybe for the back view it might have read better too, but anyway, I'm going to kind of stick to what I already kind of have. So, you know what? I'm going to move this over. I like that better. I think I like that better. Let me see. It's always good to experiment, you know, see what you think about different stuff. So let's go ahead and take that basic shape up like that. And then we'll have this shoulder. The breast is, this is going to be like, so that's the spine. Now I'm going to draw the actual rib cage thing. So the front of the rib cage is going to be right about there. And so it's going to kind of come up, down. We're going to see a little bit of the side, some side view. Like, so I imagine it like that, and we're going to come out even wider. And keep in mind, this isn't going to be all side view. I'm drawing this very, if you notice this figure over here is not, it's not a realistic figure. I mean, it's realistic in that the anatomy and stuff works, but it's not, it's more anime. You know, it's not realistic in the sense of body proportions are not realistic. Like, you're not going to find a woman that skinny and that shape like that. It's just not possible. And that's typically what I like to draw. I like to draw, you know, more comic-y type stuff that is just not in real life. You're not going to see it. Now, her other shoulder would actually be like this. The rib cage and the breast muscle is covering that shoulder a little bit because it's turned away from us in 3 dimensions. So from the front view, you have the rib cage like this. This would be from the front view, and that's the center line, right? The sternum line. You have your collarbones coming off. So imagine that from the front view, and then your shoulders are coming off like this, right? If you turn this around though, turn that around, what happens, you have that same shape, but now that center line is over here. So now you can come up and down. That's the front, that's the center line. But what happens to this? Now you see some of the side, you're seeing some of the side now of the rib cage. That's the front view, and this is the side plane. So now this shoulder, it only goes that far, whereas this shoulder comes out like this. So now I'm seeing a lot more of this shoulder. I'm only seeing a little bit of that shoulder. So then when you draw the breast on here, the breast is going to come, it lays on the rib cage, and then this breast is going to lay across. It's not going to go too much into that side because unless they have a lot of side boob, the breast isn't going to fall so much on the side plane of the rib cage. That's what we're going to work on now. But first I want to get this sketch down just so I have an idea. This will be about the breast. Remember the breast muscle, the pec muscle, it attaches. I need to make this rib cage up a little bit higher. There we go. The pecs attach to the sternum. They attach to the collar, half of the collarbone. So this is where your pec muscle attaches. Half your collarbone. So let's, hold on, let's just, one more time, really quickly. Might as well. I go through all this in my anatomy course, but this is the collarbone right here. The arm bone comes down. Okay, so where it attaches to, the pec muscle attaches across the sternum. I'm gonna use a different color. Across the sternum, halfway across the collarbone, and then it stretches and attaches to the humerus bone, your arm bone. Then it comes down here and it attaches to part of these ribs down here. I think it's like the 7th rib, something like that. So it starts to come off the sternum and attaches partly to the ribs like that. And that's how your pec muscle looks underneath. That's the shape. And then your deltoid goes over that. So you know that's why when you lift your arm, your pectoral muscle looks like it blends right into your deltoid as if it's one muscle. All that's important because I'm thinking about all that when I'm drawing this. I'm thinking about all the information I just told you. All the information is is going through my mind when I'm doing this. Okay, cool. So because she's turned away, this pec muscle is going that way, and her arm's going to kind of come back behind her. So I'm going to have her arm come, her shoulder, and her arm's going to come kind of down like this. So that's going to be like her arm, something like so. And then this arm is going to come maybe I could put it on her thigh like I have the other one. I'm just seeing if I like it better that way. For different poses, sometimes it's better, you know, you might change the pose a little bit. From front to back, it might look better one way. Let's see what it looks like if I put her hand. That looks fine. I like it both ways. This arm would come up, and maybe her hand is coming up right here, and her wrist is, this is her hand right here, and it's resting across her upper body right here, like she's resting her hand like that. So it's across the top of her breast. That's actually good because that's gonna look, that'll look sexy, I think. So let's do that. And then her breast is gonna come out right there from that top, and then it's going to rest across. Remember, you got to think about the breast as water balloons that are resting on top of a cylinder. So you have the cylinder and the breast, there's water balloons that are resting on that, so they kind of flatten and fall by gravity. And so this one's more of a side view because she's turning her body away from us. So we're going to kind of see, this is the shape of the curve shape, and then we're going to go like that, and then we have that center line. Now whenever you're drawing breasts from this angle, you always want to keep that center line where your sternum is really important, because the breast is never going to really go over that center line much, and you also want the side view line. So in this case, I also got to pay attention to this side of my rib cage. I made her waist way too small, even for anime comic character. That's just too small, so I'm going to kind of open it up like this a little bit. There we go. So this breast is going to come like this, and you can't go too far that way with it, so something like this here. Then it's going to come off like that. That's the skin that goes off and makes the armpit and the deltoid, like so, and then her nipples will be somewhere around like there and there. Cool, so that's working out. I'm going to draw her ribs in here again. Just debating where I might have to make this even wider. And I still want it to be, you know, comic-y, anime-like, but so notice last time what I did is I did the basic sketch, and then I went over that sketch. You know, I made it, I basically took the sketch and I made it, I'm kind of drawing the ribcage back in here. I made the sketch kind of see-through. Then I went back over that with another drawing. This time I'm doing it a little bit different. Now I'm starting to think about a little bit of the anatomy. So you got the serratus muscle here. Oops, didn't want to cut that off. I don't know. Sometimes the software, if you make a line too fast, sometimes it cuts it off. It's kind of weird. Her knee is somewhere in there. And remember, from the, I always forget, outside to inside, so that blade, I always have to check my own legs, so I always forget this. Yeah, I think it's always outside to inside. So the outside to the inside is where that blade right there is, like that. Her ankle down here. I like to do this little horseshoe shape for the top of the foot there from the front view. And yeah, and then once you kind of have the basic idea like that worked out, then I can make another layer and work on top of it. So I kind of like the way that's working. I could have even pulled her upper body back. Now that I think about it, I could have pulled her shoulders back and lifted her, you know, like I could have arched this back more, so the breast would lift up more, and you would see kind of a little bit of under breast even. Because it kind of looks like that from the back view. It kind of looks like I pulled her shoulders back toward us. So this way I can have the shoulders go back away from us. So that's one thing I could change about this pose. And also because of her arm here, it's kind of pushing on her breast. So it's kind of pushing the breast together. It's kind of pushing that breast, this breast here, it's kind of pushing it this way into the other breast a little bit. So that's why she has like cleavage even though she's nude. Just seeing if there's anything else I want to change. Yeah, we could tilt her chin up. An easy way to do that is if you already have the head drawn, just grab it and then go to, and just move it like that. And you can just kind of adjust it like that because it's just a sketching. And I like to try to think about everything I want to change at this point because it's easier to change a sketch when it's at this stage than it is to try to change something that's more developed. I want to pull her head back a little bit farther like that. There we go. Then we're going to come down with her neck muscles. Yeah, I kind of like that. A little bit more confidence or something, and it kind of does add a little something nice there. I like that. Right. So just really quickly, I'm just going to kind of make another layer here. I'm going to do this quite fast. I'm not going to make it like a final sketch or anything. I just want something that's a little bit more readable with final lines. I'm going to keep it pretty much exactly the same. I just want it more readable so I can kind of see what's happening. So if I ever do decide to use this pose, this arm is actually in front like that. There we go. It's in front of her. There we go. Yeah, it's in front. This is her hand like that. I'm just going to kind of roughly draw where her fingers would be in basic shapes. Oh, by the way, also on the forearm, when you draw a forearm, I don't know if I can get it on camera right, the muscle, and anyway, so you can look at your arm, if you just look at your own arm, you'll see that the inside is similar to the calf. The inside is wider than the outside. So the inside here, so if I draw her arm, this is her bicep, let's say, and this is her deltoid. If I draw her forearm, the outside is like this. The inside comes farther like that. See that inside muscle comes farther like that, and then you have her hand down here. So that angle, it's similar to the leg. Remember how you have that down here, you have and this actually, calf muscle comes down like that. You have that angle like that. You have a similar angle in the arms. Something to remember. Remember, the muscles are very similar in the upper body and the lower body. There are a lot of the kind. Remember, we used to, based on evolution, we used to be a quadruped. And so if you look at any bipedal creature, I mean, we're really the only bipedal creatures really, but if you look at some other apes and stuff that walk on twos sometimes, you'll see that the muscles in the legs and the arms are pretty much the same muscles, but over time they've changed a little bit in the arms, but they're pretty much the same thing. And that's why you see those same kind of comparisons. Like that one I just showed you, for example. That's why that holds true. And I'm going to keep her hand basic here, just a basic shape. I'm not going to go into, I'm just going to keep it two basic shapes like that so I can see where her palm is. I'm gonna give this a little bit of detail, just a little bit like that. There we go. Where you can see a little bit of the elbow and the muscles there. A little bit of the shoulder coming back like that. And remember, when you draw breast, remember, let's say these are the collarbones and this is the neck, like this. Remember that, and we have the rib cage. It was kind of sketched in there, and the shoulders will be out here. Remember, you want a space between the collarbone, right about there, like that. So where the deltoids come down, that about that much space, right where the deltoids are. See that? That's where it's more flat. So from here to here, the breasts are very flat, and then you have your sternum coming down this far. Rib cage comes up like that. The breast comes off of here. You have this little piece of skin, and then the breast attach here like this. So if you think about the breast in this way, there's this area here is flat. So you have this flatness here where it's pretty flat, and then the breast starts to curve outward. So from the side view, you have the neck comes out like this, collarbone. All that part's flat. Then the breasts start to come out like that. Then you have the rest. So if you were to think about this being the side view of the head, like that being the side view, it's like that. So you have this space here where it's just more, it goes flat, kind of sticking to the bone structure, and then it starts to come out. The only time that's different is if somebody has a bad boob job and for some reason the doctor like made the boobs really high. They look weird. They look like an anime character or something. But if they do a boob job correctly, this will still remain flat, and then it will start to come out because they allow the boobs to settle and fall down like natural breast. But like old school boob jobs, they were all messed up looking like that. They were just way too high. I'm gonna add a little bit of fat to her here, into her belly area. There's a little bit of, not much, just a little bit of chub, just to make it kind of look like she's not perfect. Or maybe this is perfect. I mean, what is perfection anyway? It's perfection's in the mind of the beholder. Now, when I do this breast here, what I'm trying to do is I don't want a tangent line. So let me go ahead and zoom in so I can show you what I'm talking about. You can use this little window over here to move around really fast to go exactly where you want to go, just like Photoshop. So you see what I don't want to happen? I don't want her breast to come out right here. I don't want the point of the breast to meet the arm like that. That's a tangent line. They're like coming together. I don't want that. That doesn't look good. So I either want the breast bigger, or move the arm in closer to where that doesn't happen. So a couple different ways to get rid of that. I can either draw the breast smaller like this. That way they're not touching. Or I can draw the breasts larger, so they're going to come out like this more, which means I need to draw this one much wider and bigger as well, like that. Let's just do that. We'll go large. You can go even bigger than that if you wanted to. I guess I can talk about that for a second. So when you make large breasts, they still have to connect to that. They still connect to, let's go back to our nice little rib cage here. Sternum. They still connect right here to the rib cage. That's the connection part. So no matter how big or small you make the breast, this is where they're connecting to the body. That's where they're stuck. So imagine this right here, this is the part, imagine you have a water balloon. That little oval, that's where you superglued the water balloon to your cylinder. Right? So that's where you superglue the watermelon the water balloon to the, oh, that's a good idea. Get a big watermelon and superglue water balloons to it. That'd have to be a pretty big watermelon, though, to represent the rib cage. Maybe a big pumpkin, a big oval pumpkin, and then superglue the water balloons to it. Just make sure they're superglued in this oval fashion. So gravity is going to pull on the water balloon, right? The rest of the water balloon is going to rest against the pumpkin, like that. And then so it's going to flatten itself and rest against the pumpkin. Doing this exercise If you can actually get something like a bib pumpkin and water balloons, or if you're a man, just take water balloons and take 2 water balloons, tie the little things, where you tie off the water balloon, tie string to both water balloons, hang them around your neck so that they fit perfectly and rest on your body right where breasts would go. That gives you a good idea about how breasts work, and they kind of squish them and stuff. And it really it does something. That exercise will put information in your brain that was probably never there before, and it really will help you drawing breast. But anyway, so if we think about these 2 ovals, this is where the breasts are attaching. So no matter how big or small we make the breast, that's where they're going to be. So if I make little breast A cups like this, they're gonna rest right on that part. That's A cup. Yeah, water balloon necklace. If I want to make, D cup, the same thing. They're still attaching to the same spot, but what happens? Gravity pulls the D cup down more, so you get a shape like this. Right, now we have D cups. Unless they have fake boobs. If they have fake boobs, then you can still keep them up and perky more, but typically they're going to pull down with gravity. If you want to make like triple F cups or something, same thing. They still have to attach to the same part. That doesn't change. They're attaching to the exact same spot. Right? Just remember that. They attach to the exact same spot. They hang down because of gravity, and now they're resting against the rib cage. And these are huge because her belly button's like right here. So this is where her lower body's going to come out like this. So those are some big F super titties. That's like Giovanni Michaels or something. I think that's something like that. I forget what her name is. Is it Giovanni Michaels? Gianna Michaels? I don't know what her name is, that porn star. She's got big tits. Okay. So I think we're gonna go with that, and we'll just kind of remember. Also, I'm gonna try to keep this PG-13 anatomy. So PG-13 anatomy is just ovals where the nipples would be. That's PG-13. So remember that the nipples fall about if you have your that circle, then you have your boobs coming off of that circle. So imagine this whole shape. It's about 2/3 down. So imagine that whole. Remember, you have the oval that I told you. This is the oval where the boobs attach to, and then boobs come off of that. So including that oval, and then the shape of the boob, however big it is, typically it's like 2/3 down. Hopefully that makes sense. That's about where the nipples are. You'll get a feel for it. And then also remember the other boob is she has her body turned away from us, right? So we're only seeing the side view of this boob. And so you probably won't be able to see that. So that's why we're only seeing the side. So it's basically as if we're drawing a side view of the breast. So all you see is this part of the nipple. You don't see the whole nipple. You see the side view version of the nipple. Anyway, you can draw this however you want. I could have made it to where she had small A cups, whatever. Doesn't really matter. You get the idea. And then her hips are turning toward us. And notice how I added fat to her. Just a little bit of fat. She's not tight skinny, right? She's not like Ethiopia skinny. She has a little bit of meat around her belly section. So because she's kind of bending, she's kind of squashing and bending her midsection there, I've showed the fat tissue right here. So it's kind of a shape like this. See that? And that's the belly button. That's how you want to show just a little bit of chub there. And then we'll have her crotch coming down here. That's her crotch. That's her crotch lines. That's where the legs attach to the torso. That's what creates those creases, by the way. So when you view someone from the front view and you see those crotch crease lines, what those are, that's where their legs are actually attaching to your hips, and that's what causes those lines. So typically where you have the belly button, which is right here, you have 2 parts of the hip. So imagine here. Let's learn some shit. We're going to do this whole entire shape here. This is the crotch. Actually, we'll make the crotch a little bit lower. We'll make the crotch like this. This square piece right here, cut that in half. And that's, yeah, Follow, tag, learn some shit. You want to pull it like that. See that? This part here and this part here, that's how you separate the hips. Does that make sense? So the crotch line, this is the crotch line right here. That's where the legs attach to your hips. So the crotch line where the legs attach to the hips is about halfway down this overall shape here. So you have the belly button up here somewhere. But this shape that I was talking about before, you want to kind of cut that in half, and that's where the legs, this is where the legs come off and attach to the body. So if I was going to have her sitting, this same person sitting down, right here is where the legs attach. So if she was sitting down, this would be where, that's where the legs attach. So this would be the thigh. It'd be coming out like this if she was sitting down. That'd be a foreshortened leg sitting down, and then her rest of her leg would come down like that. See what I mean? Like that's foreshortened coming at us. That's what that line is. This took me a long time for it to sink into my head for some reason, because I was never taught this way. And so over time, I just figured this out on my own. It's like, wait a minute. Like, that's what that is. That's how all that works. So basically, don't attach this up here, because that's not where that line attaches to. That's where, maybe a one piece looks like, right? So that's another thing you do. You can imagine a one piece goes like this, right? But the actual leg lines, the crotch / leg lines, go here, halfway between the halfway point and where you have the bikini line, or not bikini line, but the one piece. So that's the one piece line. That right there, that's what you want. That's the leg line right there. This is where the leg attaches. Hopefully that makes sense. Just trying to think different ways to explain it. Anyway, so there we go. So that's why I'm going to come here. I'm going to kind of start to, there's a dip right here. Then it comes out and comes in. So the reason why I mention that is if they're really skinny, you're actually going to see a dip right here like that. You're going to see this shape right there. You see that? You're going to see that with someone that's really skinny. That bone, this hip bone is going to stick out right here. And if someone has a little bit of fat on them, they don't have that much fat on them. If they have just a little bit of fat on them, people like Nicki Minaj, they're not going to have that. They're not going to have this dent right here, right? Someone like Nicki Minaj won't have that. Paris Hilton will have that. Well, I don't know if she's still skinny like that anymore, but Paris Hilton would have had that dent. Whereas Nicki Minaj is not going to have it. It's going to come straight out like this because she has more fat in the lower region of her body. It comes down to preference, what you like better. I think they both look good. But sometimes for these kinds of poses, I feel like that shape just doesn't look as good as just adding a little bit of fat. So basically you just have that shape right there, and I'm just adding a little bit of fat tissue over it like that, see? Then I can delete it. Boom, just like that. So sometimes I think this looks better. It's up to you what you think looks better. So just draw it the way you like it. This side is being, the hip bone is pushing out. This is all the hip bone right here on this side. So it's all being pushed out like that. And then her thigh. Oh, another thing too is, remember there's two muscles that come off of the crotch area into the leg. So first you have your serratus muscles, and they connect about halfway between the crotch and this hip bone up here. That's where the serratus muscle starts, and it comes like this. It's shaped like that. It's really not, but it connects to another muscle down here, and that's what it looks like with skin on. Okay, it does like that kind of thing. Off the crotch, you have this other muscle comes out like this, and then you have another muscle right here that attaches to that like that. So you have this little thin piece of almost like a tendon that comes off the crotch area, and then the thigh muscles attached like that. You see that right there? So this would be the crotch right here. Anyway, hopefully that makes sense. I'm gonna kind of delete some of that and redraw it thinner. I'm gonna make my pencil a little bit smaller so I can really draw this detail here. This right here is the crotch right here. Comes up like this. Remember, I'm keeping it PG anatomy. At least I'm trying to. I need to really show this up close. We need to get closer to the crotch so you guys can see what I'm talking about. Alright, so we have this part right here. This is the actual crotch. Comes like that. Off of the crotch, not directly off like this. Again, you don't want a tangent line. You want it up here like this. That's where that muscle comes off like that. See that? Boom, just like that. Then you have the serratus muscle coming up like this. This side, the serratus muscle is going to come like this and come down like that. But again, you have that little tendon coming off this way that comes off the crotch first, and then you have the muscle of the leg, and it usually has this kind of, the fat builds up right there. This is where fat builds up, right there. It doesn't build up right here. So there's a tendon, there's this little gap here where really no fat builds up like that. The little triangle gaps right there. Remember those triangle gaps. Those are super important. And that's between the crotch and the leg. You get that triangle fat buildup there, or that triangle of non-fat buildup. The fat starts to build up right here. So now you get that leg like that, and that comes up and attaches to the crotch line up here somewhere where you have the leg line like that. It kind of goes like that. So just remember that shape. If you can remember that shape right there that I just drew, I'm going to zoom out. It's not going to look like that when you draw it, but remember those shapes, and your figures from your imagination are going to look so much cooler. You can add those. You can add that cool factor into your figures. Cool. So now I have another pose I can save for later. Remember this side of the calf starts up higher and then comes in. And you have the ankle bone. This calf comes down further like that before it bubbles out, and then it comes in and your other ankle. Oh yeah, I forgot to talk about the ankle. I'm going to just leave this like this. I'm going to leave the foot very basic like that in this sketch. You see a little bit of knee here, like that. A little bit of ankle there, heel. There we go. Basic shapes here. Oh yeah, it's one other thing I was going to talk about really fast is the ankles. So remember I talked about opposite angles. You have, this is the widest point here, and then here, so it goes through the calf like that. So understand that's how the calf muscle works, and I showed you that same relationship in the forearm. You also have a similar relationship. Let me go and get rid of that sketch underneath here. Oops. There we go. Oh, I didn't erase this yet. There we go. So you have a similar relationship. Let me go. I'm going to make her smaller if I can put her over here now. Free transform. Hold down the shift key. Make her the size you want. And you can tell it's so close to that other pose. It does look like it looks pretty close enough to where it looks as though it is the front view of that pose. So it looks like I drew a front and back view of the same pose. And see how her stomach looks like a little bit chubby because that simple line work I did? Oh, sorry, hold on. Before I was going to add some shading to her, but let me go ahead and show you what I was talking about real quick. So when you think about the legs, so we have the, that's way too big, hold on. We have the hips up here, the thighs come off, you have the knees, you have that relationship right here I taught you about where the calf muscle looks like this. There's another opposite relationship down here with the ankles. So the inside ankle and the outside ankle in the foot. So you have this opposite relationship down here. So if you're wondering what ankle is higher and lower, because they're not even, the inside ankle is the higher ankle. Let me make sure. Let me check this. I've been doing this a long time. I'm pretty sure I'm right. Yeah. Okay. I had to feel my ankles to make sure. I don't want to say something wrong, but that's how I always remember it like this. The opposite angles here, like this and this is opposite, and then the other side. So I always remember it making this kind of sideways hourglass if I were to draw lines to everything. So that's an important relationship. And then finally you have your foot itself. Remember, the inside of the foot is going to be the longest part of your foot. Okay, cool. Everything's back. So I'll just repeat what I said really fast just in case you missed it. So remember I showed the relationship between these, the calf muscle. This calf comes down further. This calf starts up higher. So the widest part of the calf on the outside is up here. On the inside is down here. So it creates this kind of off-center shape. We have a shape like that for the calf. The opposite is true for the ankles. So the inside ankle is higher, the outside ankle is lower, like that. So when you're drawing the anatomy, just keep that in mind, that the ankles they're not even. The ankles aren't like this. They're not even. One ankle's higher, one ankle's lower, like that. And then you want to think about the foot, because the foot attaches to these ankles, right? So the inside of the foot is up higher because the inside of the ankle is higher. So the inside of the foot is higher, like that. So you kind of draw a shape like that. The inside of the foot is longer because that's where your big toe is. So the basic shape is like this of the foot. Because remember, the toes angle off like that away from you. Because the pinky toe is back here, the big toe is up here. So from here, a little bit bigger, you come out, the foot comes down, you have the big toe here, and then the foot kind of shaped like that. Because the middle, or the pinky toe is back here, and the big toe is up here. Then you have that toe, and the next toe like that, and they extend backward like that. Hopefully that makes sense. Some relationships that I always pay attention to when I'm drawing. So that's pretty cool. I mean, it takes a while to get to this point where you can draw like this from imagination, but you can get there. I actually have a few students right now that show me some of their beginning work before they started my course, my anatomy course. It's called Anatomy for Figure Drawing, and again, it's on my website, masterpaintingnow.com. Let me see if I can paste that over here real quick. Wow, it still didn't copy it? Okay. Sorry about that. And anyway, they showed me their beginning stuff they did, and then they showed me the end stuff they did. And I couldn't believe it. I'm like, wow, you've come such a long way, being able to draw from your imagination. It's absolutely amazing. This is really, really small drawing right now. I should have made it. I should have kept it bigger when I was doing the shading. That's alright though. But eventually you'll get to that point where you can do this kind of stuff from your imagination. It does take a lot of dedication, a lot of practice, but it's so worth it, because being able to draw stuff from just right out of your imagination is absolutely amazing. It is the best feeling I've ever had as an artist, is being able to draw, without having to look at anything. In fact, for a long time, some of you guys have heard this story before, for a long time I stopped drawing because I got bored of just drawing the exact same, I got bored of not being able to draw what was in my head. I had to draw what I saw. And I was able to do that really good. I was able to look at something and draw it, and it looked really good. But I'm like, I have all these ideas. I want to design my own stuff. And I met this guy. He was a comic artist, and he was homeless under the bridge. This was when I was homeless under the bridge. I think I was 21, 22 years old. I spent a year under the bridge. I'm now 41. Have my own businesses for several years now. But I used to be very poor growing up. And anyway, so that was my homeless part of my life. Anyway, this guy was around my same age. I think he was 2 years older than I was. And he was homeless on the bridge with me. And I would always see him in the park, and he'd be sketching in a sketchbook. And I'm like, dude, can I see that? And he showed me. I'm like, did you just draw that out of your mind? Because I was looking around, what are you looking at? I was trying to see what he was looking at. I'm like, I don't see no one that looks anything like this. Where did you come? He's like, I'm just drawing it from my mind. I'm like, how do you do that, man? How do you just? I don't understand I don't know how to do that. How do you do that? And he's like, I don't know. I just do it. Well, years later, I taught myself how to do it. Now I teach others how to do it. But it was amazing. Anyway, I don't know how someone with that much talent was homeless under a bridge. He had so much talent. I'm like, why don't you go apply at some of these companies, dude? You're so good. They want people that can do that, what you're doing right now. From your mind like that is crazy. And I don't know whatever happened of that. I don't know if he ever did go get a job or not. So when I think about the tummy muscles, there's two different sides. And I think about it like this. Here's the belly button. So you have this side and this side. So these are round and these are round, right? So it's kind of like an M mountain like that. So when you want to light these up, the light's coming from this direction over here, it lights up this inner side here, and this side is going to be in shadow. and then it lights up this side over here, so this side's going to be in shadow. Like that. Boom, boom. So that's how I'm thinking right now. So that's why, if you're wondering, why did I put this line of shadow right here? That's why I put it right there. And then there's going to be another line of shadow over here in a similar shape. And then there might be a little bit of shadow in between it, so it's not super bright. It's really small, so it's kind of hard to see. And then there's going to be all this shadow underneath here. This is the underside of the belly right there. And then all this down here is going to be in a lot more shadow. And then a little bit of this rib cage here will be in shadow like that. And then all this outer leg here, this will be in shadow. Inner leg will be in shadow. Some of the knee down here will be in shadow like that. That's one of the darker parts, right underneath the knee. I'm going to make that little curve. You can usually see that curve in the side of the foot like that. This whole side of the foot here will be in shadow. Only the top part of the foot will be not in shadow. That whole muscle kind of is going to bleed right into this muscle right here from that side view, kind of like that. Then I shade this separately. So I'm thinking about this whole shape first, and then I think about this shape like that. Then a little bit of the side of the knee here will be in shadow as well. So something like that. There we go. We got some sketches from imagination. And what's cool when you begin to develop a style, so you can see this is like my style. Once you start drawing from imagination for a while, naturally your own style will just start to happen, because you're not going to, from your imagination, you're not going to draw completely realistically. You know, like you might start off that way. From your imagination, you might start off where everything is very realistic, meaning that the anatomy and everything is more like a real person. You know, they're not exaggerated or anything like that. But over time, as you continue to draw, especially when you start drawing cartoons and stuff like that, and then you go back to draw a figure from your imagination, eventually your style will just kind of bleed together. Like, don't try to force it. It will just naturally happen over time. Over time, it'll naturally happen. Next thing you know, someone will look at your figure and be like, "Whoa, that looks cool." Like that, your style's so neat, or you'll hear something like that, and you'll be like, "What? What are you talking about?" Like you probably won't even notice you have a style. Other people will notice it for you, and you'll be like, "What are you talking about? What do you mean style? I have a style, really?" I just wanted to change that shape. It was bugging me. Cool. So if anyone has any questions or any requests you want me to just kind of show real fast, I can do like a quick sketch just to kind of show something. Honestly, I think her figure would have looked better if I would have made her boobs the size they were first. If I would have made them smaller like they were first. I mean, they still look fine like this, but I think they would look better. I think her overall just figure and stuff would look better the way I had it before. I think. Either way, it looks good though, I think. Like a lot of this stuff here, like this, you'll learn this over time. You'll learn all this like this will just start to make. You have this muscle right here that goes like this, and then that muscle like that. You'll learn over time that when there's fat there, that just kind of turns into one line. But the line is shaped like that. It's not just straight like this. It kind of has a curve, and it curves in and out. That little subtlety of line. Then you have the cap muscle and and then the foot. You'll learn these kinds of curves over time. They'll just come naturally. I want to really show that muscle right there. I want to really pop that out. Cool. Trying to think of it. I might do a couple more like maybe really quick gesture sketches. I'm just to give people a chance. So if anyone wants to, ask for a request of something specific, or you have a question or something like that, I think I'll do just a couple quick ones just for you, kind of give you guys a chance to ask something. Basically, that's what I'm trying to say. I'm gonna do. I like never draw with green, so I'm gonna do a quick sketch with green. Let's see. Punches are always kind of fun to do, like a straight punch like that or something. Just how to like kind of like, you know, rest the body and curve it is kind of nice too. Like whether it's a guy or a girl, it's still kind of cool to rest the body. Stretches are kind of cool. No, this I don't use this to animate. I use Photoshop to animate. Sometimes I'll use Clip Studio Paint to do some part of my animation. If I want to do an actual animation, well, let me rephrase that. If I want to do more like a cartoon animation, I have something called what's that program called again? Oh my god, I forgot. I haven't used it in a while. I can't remember what it's called now. I think I still haven't. I can't remember if I uninstalled it because I just hardly ever use it. It's really expensive too. I thought I was going to do a lot more animation with it. What's it called? Oh, there it is, TV Paint. So yeah, I still have it installed right now on my computer. What I don't like about it is TV Paint. I have this little dongle. That's what they call it. They call it a dongle. It's basically a USB drive, and you have to plug that USB drive in order for the program to work. It won't work without that USB drive. So it's kind of a pain in the butt to have to do that whenever I want to use it. Because I only have I'm on my gaming laptop, so I only have 4 USB ports, and so yeah, so it's kind of a bummer to have to unplug stuff just to use that software. But anyway, so I would use that if I want to do like a full-on cartoon, or like Flash or something. But I like TV Paint because it's pixel based, and I like the look of it better. Anyway, I don't do full animations anyway. I don't like it. It's boring. Like I don't have the patience to do a cartoon. That would take way too many years. Like just to do 15 minutes of cartoon for one person takes so much. It takes so long. It's ridiculous. But sometimes I'll bust that out when I want to do actual like sketches of a cool little animation and stuff. I have a few animations I did with that. What I use for my video games, for my video game artwork, I like to use Photoshop and sometimes Clip Studio Paint for certain parts of animation, especially if I want to do the 3D dolls to get a certain idea down. And yeah, so I just do pixel art type animation for my video games, so I use that. And it's not the best animating program, that is Photoshop isn't, but it just makes it really easy for my workflow with video games to do that in, so that's how I usually do it. Definitely not the best animation software though, that is Photoshop, but it does work. Oh, really quickly, before I do this other sketch, let me see if I have any of these on my computer. Let's see here, pictures. I'm just curious if I have any of the animations on here that I used TV Paint for. TV Paint's amazing though. You can do a whole cartoon with TV Paint, like a whole 2D cartoon with it. It does everything from lighting, shadow. You can literally do the whole entire cartoon process with that one software. From start to finish, everything you need in a cartoon. I'm trying to remember where I put my animations at. Oh, there's one right there. Let's see here, anime. So here's an owl. I don't know if this is the... So I did this in TV Paint. Let me go and pull this over here. I'll play it one more time. So I did all that in TV Paint, which is it's like a sketch animation. Just mess around with some bird stuff. Let's see, what's this one? This one's kind of stupid. I did this one just as just quick practice. I did this one in Photoshop, I think. So he yells stop. Stop! And his eye pops. So that's kind of a stupid one, but that was kind of funny. I'm trying to find this one I did. It's this little dancing figure I did. It was mainly, most of my animations are just for practice for my game art. That's the only kind of animation I actually enjoy doing, is when I do my game art animation. Let's see here, trying to find it. I know it's right here somewhere. Just looking through the files. Give me a second here. I wish I remember what it was called. I thought I named it something I would remember, but I guess I didn't. Let's see. Oh, here it is. I don't think this is the final version, though. This is the... Oh, yeah, that one's not even finished. So this was the beginning of it. I know I have the finished version somewhere, but this is in TV Paint. This was the unfinished version. It was really hard, actually. This was really difficult to animate. Because I wanted to do this nice hip roll like they kind of do in belly dancing, and that was so difficult. Huh. I have a final version. I'm trying to find it. Let me see. I think it's in here. Oh, this one's kind of funny. Oh, I found okay, I found that one now. So I did this one in TV Paint. Believe it or not, just to do that little head turn, just to do that little Rick and Morty head turn. Rick and Morty is not that hard to draw. He doesn't have a lot. He doesn't have a lot of detail to him, but just to do that little head turn took like 3 hours. It might even been more than 3 hours. Yeah, I love Rick and Morty. November, new episodes come out in November, so that's awesome. To do the dance one, the dance took me several days. I think total time was like over 24 hours. So just to do this animation right here, this is the final version. All this is done in TV Paint. Nothing but TV Paint for everything. For the lighting effects, everything. It's all part of TV Paint. And so here's the final version. And that probably took actual working hours, that probably took me 24 hours or longer. And that's actual working hours. And I think I have a version where it's just the yeah, here's a version where it's just the girl, not all none of the lighting or anything. So that's just the girl, the looping dance. It actually loops, but for some reason this software that's playing it doesn't have a looping option. I could probably open a different program to loop it, but yeah, anyway. So I mainly do most of the stuff I do in TV Paint is for practice, just to get an idea of how bodies rest, how motion works. You know, that's pretty much all I use it for. Doing little practice things like that. Like this was a fun practice. This took a long time to finish. I think this one took me, overall drawing time from start to finish, this one probably took me 24 hours of actual working time. I basically wanted to mess around with camera angles and stuff. Yeah, and I'm a really fast drawer, so I work faster than most artists. I can do paintings, you know, I can do my Bob Ross paintings in 20 minutes. When I'm really into it, I can get them done in 20 minutes. And so for that to take 24 hours, and that's black and white. Imagine what that would take just to turn into color. That one little scene, to turn that into color, that's like what, maybe a 4-second scene or something? It's insane. That's why there's several people have to work on cartoons. That's why Rick and Morty takes so long to come out. Even though they have a whole team working on them, it just takes so many hours to do cartoons. It's insane. absolutely crazy. It's been a while since I looked at some of these. So I wanted to do it. So I really like this picture by Dean Yeagle. I really love Dean Yeagle's work. And so this is Mandy by Dean Yeagle. And I wanted to do like a little animation that leads into this. Like this would be like this. It happens really fast. As you can see, super fast. But I wanted a little animation that leads into that artwork. You know, like it shows the dog jumping up and pulling her pants down. So I just wanted to see, could I imagine the frames that would have needed to be drawn before that picture happened. That's kind of a fun exercise too. Like get a good picture you like, and then try to imagine drawing something that leads into it. And then other things that are fun to do sometimes is just doing stick figure animations. This really gives you an idea of just how movement works and stuff. And let me see if I can... Hold on, wait. Let's go back. Okay, ready? And then... See how... That took a while to figure out how to add weight. It's actually really challenging. That stick figure, to add weight to it to make it look like its head weighed something, like it, you know. All that took a lot of thought process and stuff on how to figure that out and make it work the way I wanted it to. But stick figures are good for that, just to figure out things like that and get it working. And even though that's just a stick figure animation, that still took like 3 hours just to do that little bit of animation with that stick figure. It's kind of crazy. So yeah, animation takes a long time. But what's cool is for video games, most animations in video games are only like 8 frames long, you know, 5 to 8 frames long for an attack animation or walk animation. Some of them might be a little bit longer, like 23 frames long. So you don't have to work nearly as hard to work on video games for 2D animation. Alright, so I think really quickly, if you draw someone standing, it's kind of boring if you just draw them like this. If you just kind of draw them, you know, straight like that. Here's their head, here's their shoulder, here's their arms. Right, it's kind of boring to just draw someone standing like that. So instead, you want to rest their weight on one side of their body only. And let me go, sorry about that, I didn't see who did that. That was Hang Long Ho. Thank you for the, oh wow, I thought you did a, I thought you subscribed, but that was a different sound, I think. So thank you for the $1, much appreciated. I appreciate it, thank you. Thumbs up, man. Oh, awesome, yeah, cool. Hopefully you try those brushes. They're awesome. They're really fun to use for doing Bob Ross type stuff. So really quickly, instead what you can do is take your upper body and do a slight C curve with it. You know, kind of push all the weight onto one foot. So instead of just having that straight up and down, so let's say this is the upper body, and then this is the lower body with the legs. Instead of having all the weight just evenly on both feet, put all the weight on this foot only. Right, so we're going to take that, push the weight up like this, and that's going to crunch the upper body into a C like this. So now the weight's going to be here, like that, and then this leg can either come off to the side, or it can kind of, you know, come down like this, however it needs to be. But it can't be straight up and down anymore because all the weight is on the other leg. So let's talk through that really fast. So let's take the hips. Let's start with the hip line. We're gonna put the hips this way, and because we're pushing the hips this way, we're going to push the upper body the opposite way, the shoulders. Hip, shoulders, right? Now we have this like triangle shape, right? And then I'm going to imagine the spine is going to have this kind of bend to it like this. And I'm going to have the head, let's say, over here like this. I'm going to have the head straight up and down. So we're still going to have the head facing straight. We could cock the head, to the side or something, but we'll have it straight up and down. And then the neck like this. If the hip is like this, it means the weight has to be on this leg, right? Pushing upward like that. Otherwise, it's not going to work right. So we're going to go ahead and let's draw the rib cage here, that middle, and then we'll draw the hips like so. Remember that if the hips are kind of shaped like this triangle shape, the bones come off like this. This is how they're shaped. That being the femur bone. Then it comes down, it has like a curve to it. The knee, then the lower leg. That's what we're thinking about. That's the underlying anatomy. So I'm going to have the hip shape here will come off with the, this is going to be crunched here. So this is the crunch side. This is the stretch side. Crunch side. Now we're going to come straight down. And actually the widest part is going to be here. Remember, because we're at an angle. The widest part is at the crotch, but we're at an angle, so the widest part is actually out like that. So you just draw that line out to where the widest part is. Like so. And then the lower leg is going to be down here. Okay, and that's all pushing the weight up. So already the pose is starting to look cooler because we changed how the weight is distributed from a front pose. I would give her longer legs. I ran out of room. Let me change her size a little bit here. I'm going to make her a little bit smaller so I can make the legs longer. I like drawing long legs. There we go, something more like that. Then this leg we can either have it come out like this, out to the side, and have it come in. We can have it come back like this and behind, like that, and kick off this way. Most of her weight is on this foot, so we can do whatever we want with the other leg, and it's really not going to upset her balance too much. But she might need her foot either back this way to give her a little bit of balance, that tippy toe, or she can have her foot coming straight out this way, and that will give her balance. There's all different kinds of things you can do with that, or you can just have it more casual and have it kind of just coming more out to the side like this a little bit. That would be like more of a casual stance. Let's try that. Instead of doing something sexy, let's just do something casual. And again, these are just quick sketches to get an idea. It's kind of a mixture between sketching and gesture. We're not doing pure gesture here. So something like that. And then you got to decide with the arms. So you can have, this arm is closer, or this arm's higher, this arm's lower. This is where the shoulder is. So maybe this arm can come. Oops, I made way too many lines there. I meant to do the deltoid like that. That arm can be going behind, let's say, so we can put that behind her body. Draw through the body because maybe the hand will be somewhere like that. And this other arm, I don't know what to do with it. Maybe it'll we can kind of rock her. Let's rock her. What is going on? How come I can't erase it? Okay, that's weird. I don't know what just happened. Okay, that was weird. I think I was actually holding down undo or something. Let's pull the center, her center body here. Let's kind of pull it over this way more. Right, so this will be kind of up like this, and then side, or kind of a side view. So we're going to kind of pull that chest like we did before. See, now we're kind of pulling the chest. And because I'm doing that, I'm going to move the head. We'll just kind of move it over there for right now. We'll redraw it, but just an idea where I want it. And then now I'm just going to see a little bit of the shoulder there, and the arm is going to be going behind. So I'll give her small breast here. so we can see what's happening here with the anatomy. That's a little bit too high, actually. Gotta redraw that. Give me just a second to look at chat here. Remember, the connection of the breast is like here and here. So we have to draw the breast off of that. So that one's kind of turned away from us a little bit. It's not fully side view, but it's close to side view. And this breast here is right about here. And that's the side armpit kind of pec muscle that attaches into it. And I'm going to kind of have the top of the shoulder like that. And this arm is going to come down back that way. And then maybe the forearm kind of comes out like this, like she's just kind of relaxed. Sometimes I draw claws for my hands just to kind of give a quick gesture of the hand that I want. I just kind of draw like a claw, and that gives me an idea. You know, because I can draw the hand like that, and that's one gesture for a hand. Or I can draw the claw shape like this, and that gives me a different hand gesture. So this is a quick way to get like a reminder of what I want the hand gesture to look like. Anyway, so you get the idea, hopefully. I drew all that too close together. So let me draw her leg muscle coming out here a little bit further. There we go. Belly button's like right about there. Then we can give her some, we can either give her let's give her a one piece. So her one piece is going to be right here like that. And then it comes up, I don't know, like this maybe. Just kind of color all that in. There we go. One piece. She's really got a huge deltoid there. But again, I'm not paying attention so much to anatomy as I am paying attention to the gesture, though, like how I want everything to fall into place. So now I'm just going to draw a little bit of anatomy there, not much, just to kind of fix that because it's bugging me. So there you go. And you can see the style here is very more anime style, really long legs, really thin waist here. So, but that's how I would start out. So remember, I started out these poses the same way, even more sloppy actually. I started out even more sloppy than this. But that's a good enough for me to read, and I can sketch over that, and I can make something out of this. You know, I have to change some things, like her hip would actually be sticking out here more, like this. That would be like where that hip bone is, and the leg would be here. So there's some things I have to change anatomy-wise, but I can sketch over this and come out with something. But it gives an idea of what I'm talking about for the pose. And that's enough information for me. I don't need. I know I could turn that into a good drawing. I don't need more information than that. So I can just go, okay, that's another pose, done. And I know I can use that later, and I can turn that into a pose. And that's a really easy one. I just wanted to show like how you can add a little bit of life to just a standing pose. I'm gonna go back and read the chat here. Okay, cool. No one said anything yet. But yeah, so it's something like that. And then you can do the same thing with the guy pose. So with the guy, I sometimes just kind of, if you want to do a buffer guy or skinny guy, that all depends. But I'll sometimes just kind of go like this, like the basic shape of a guy. For upper body is like a rectangle, and then almost the same thing for, you know, this bottom part, kind of like the Superman shape here. And then I'm gonna come off with his leg. And he's got pants on. And you can, like, you know, quickly sketch maybe his head's off this way, he's looking off that way. Maybe he has a hat on. That neck's kind of long, that's fine. His legs are kind of short, upper body's kind of long. Not a big deal, but you can just go like this and change it just to see like free transform and just kind of pull the legs down a little bit. But really fast like that, you can come out with different poses. So there's another standing pose. That's more like, it's not quite gesture. It's kind of a mix between gesture and form, like just basic form. What I mean by form is it's kind of like the basic shapes, mannequin, whatever you want to call it. Sorry about that. Trying to rearrange my position here, get comfortable. One that I see a lot, like in comic books and stuff, is the one where like the guy's like coming forward at you, and it could be kind of weird how to draw that. So you maybe the head's like this, right? And then the shoulders are up high because they're almost coming straight at us. And then you might have the basic shape down here for the pectoral muscles, and then the deltoids are gonna be huge in this area here. And then I don't know, maybe it all depends on, maybe he's coming forward. I'm trying to think of a popular one that I've seen a lot. Trying to think what he should do. Anyway, this would be like his trapezius muscles coming in like this. Then he'd have his stomach muscles, and it's all very foreshortened. Maybe he has one leg that comes up like this. That's like his knee, and then his hips are coming down like that, and you see part of his buttocks down here, part of his leg like that, and then his calf muscle, and his foot's coming forward like this, and then this leg is coming back. And you have to really foreshorten this leg because this foot needs to be down here somewhere, really small. So his foot has to be really tiny back here, and he needs to somehow this leg needs to get all the way back like that. Like it's really like running forward toward us, and so that leg is being super foreshortened, and this leg is coming forward. Something like that. And then maybe this arm's coming forward toward us, so this arm would be bigger and coming toward us this way, so you might see the overall arm, and his hand might be huge like this, big old hand like this, because since he's coming forward, you can see the whole arm bigger. Like that, so it'll be covering the knee. That'll all be his big hand. Just imagine that's the hand, and then this arm is going back in space, so it's actually getting smaller. Well, what just happened to my color change? Oh, it did. It'd have to get shorter too. It couldn't just do that. So this is what's good, and this is what's awesome about digital artwork. You can like quickly, change stuff like this on the fly, not having to redraw it, and just get an idea like, okay, yeah, that's the basic shape I wanted more, or something like that. Something like that. So he's coming forward at us. I don't really like it, but it's good because you can do this really fast, so you can get an idea like, is that working? Do I like it at all? In this case, I don't really like it, but it gives it a basic idea, but I don't like it. Kind of a weird forced perspective. But it doesn't take that much time to figure out whether you like it or not. Just start sketching something, and you're either going to like it or you're not going to like it. Just trying to think. I don't like that color. I'm going to draw the different color. So what if we had like this really C-curve like this, that shape right there. So maybe someone's really coming back and they're stretching. So in this case you want, maybe that's about where the hips are, and then you have that middle section, and then up here you have the rib cage attached to that. And then thing about the head. We can have the head come back like this even. This would be a big stretch. The head's coming back. We could also have the head coming forward. Yeah, that's weird. I don't think someone stretches that much. Maybe make the head kind of forward a little bit. Then have one arm kind of, maybe that arm is stretching way up like that, and maybe this arm is stretching like this, and then maybe coming back like this. Yeah, so that's kind of, so you just got to kind of start imagining how, and then the chest is probably going to, this is probably really going to be exaggerated, right? So let's really pop out this chest like that. We can go more cartoon with this as well. Yeah, so it starts to read. Yeah, I like that better. So anyway, you just start thinking about something, the motion or the action you want. Oops. And then let me go and make this a little bit smaller here so I can do everything I wanted to do. Sometimes that hand gesture is important. So I wanted to be able to see the hand gesture, and that's why I make this smaller. I really want to show the hand is out like this. So like I want to show the thumb. See how the thumb and fingers come to that point? I really want to show that shape right there. It really shows a good stretch. I think the head should move over a little bit. And then once you get the basic idea down, you can start tweaking it, start changing little things. I can move the head forward here more, like that. Redraw that arm. You can even show the mouth is open by, drawing a mouth open like they're really yawning or something. And then this arm here, hold on a second. This has got to kind of read like a head face. There we go. A little bit of neck there. And this arm, shoulder comes up. Like so. Really pop the chest out. And this arm can come like this. Again, that finger. There we go. So now we got someone that looks like they just woke up. They just got out of bed. So it's mostly a side view. And notice I keep everything loose. Basic shapes, everything's loose. I'm not too worried about details here. I'm just worried about the overall shape. Like what's the overall pose? What's that? What I'm trying to convey. I'm thinking about the weight, of everything. And so it's just a very quick. This is more like a gesture. Different people work differently. Some people don't like to work with shapes at all. They like to work with opposing, C's and curves like that when they work with this. So someone else might draw that totally differently. That's just how I tend to do things. But I focus with that basic C curve right here. Right there. That's the basic C curve I focused with on this pose. But somebody else might have done this differently. they might have went something like this. They might have started the pose with that nice opposing C curve here like that. They might have just drawn the foot like this. They might have drawn this leg like this only, you know, with maybe a foot, and then they want to capture the shape of that chest, and they might want to capture the shape of the butt here, and then maybe this leg like that. And obviously they would want the head in there, maybe the mouth, and for arms they might only go like this. They might have a shape of the hands, but you'll see a lot of gesture drawings like that. And that's all they do is a few lines, and that's enough for them to know what's there. And if that works for you, that's great. To me, that doesn't work for me. Maybe something in between these two, like I would want to add at least a couple more lines in here. You know, I'd want to add a little more information, at least something like that. So I'd want something like at least like that so I can kind of see better. But for me, something like that is much easier for me to read. I can easily turn that into a good drawing with a couple more sketches on top of it. So you just got to find got to find what works for you. Don't try to be like other people. You know, just try a bunch of different things and then see what works for you and then stick with that. So there we go. We got some cool gestures down. And basically you can just fill up a whole page like this. You know, just draw and fill up a whole entire page like that of different gestures, and then there you go. Yeah, if there's any requests, feel free to, if you want to see, if you're having issues with some kind of pose or a question, and maybe, you know, giving a request for something might help you figure it out. If I kind of just, you know, answer the question by maybe doing a quick drawing or something like that. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to draw before I close this out, and that's why I'm waiting for a request. Maybe I can. Oh, you know what? It's kind of difficult to draw sometimes. Is what could be really difficult to draw sometimes is people interacting with each other. Like, I don't know. Let's say you want to draw somebody else, like grabbing and about to do a slam or something, like a wrestling move or something like that. That stuff can be really complicated to figure out, and you want to like draw through both people and stuff. Oh yeah, what if you wanted to draw? I'll wait a second, see if anyone wants to say anything. Give you guys a second here. It looks like he's dancing for the ladies. Yeah, it kind of does look like a dance than a stretch, huh? Maybe I should have pulled his other arm back too, like both arms back behind his head, kinda. I wonder if that would have looked more like he's stretching. Like this. Like, what if I would have had this arm also coming back like that? Or actually even more behind his head, huh? So that arm like this, and then have the arm more behind his head. Like that. Do a giantess crushing a smaller chick in her fist. I could do so. That would take a little bit longer, because you have to. That's going to take a lot of hand anatomy as well. I don't know if I want to draw all that right now. Maybe I'll say that for another time, because I'd have to draw the fist big enough like this, you know, where you can actually see everything, and then I'd have to draw the little lady in there somewhere. You know, so let's say these are the knuckles. Then I'd have to, you know, maybe she's screaming. She's like trying to like stiff arm push herself up and out like this. Maybe that's one breast there, another breast here. She's like trying to stiff arm push herself up and out. And this arm is coming down that way, trying to push up and out this way. Maybe she's screaming, "Let me out!" Anyway, I'm not gonna draw all this, but something like that. That would be like the fist. And then I'd have to, like, you know, draw the rest, the big, maybe her big head over here, And she's like yelling. Anyway, I'm not gonna draw that right now, but that take a little while. Even to sketch that would take a little while. Although I do have an idea. And thank you, John Chin, for the subscription. Much appreciated. Thank you thank you for subscribing, John Chin. There we go. Okay, here's one more. I got an idea. What if we do someone sitting on the ground, right? So I like to draw this oval shape. Whenever I'm drawing somebody sitting, I like to start with an oval. That represents their mass, their butt, their hip, all that kind of stuff. That's like where they're smashing down. And then I got to decide, how they're sitting. Are they kind of leaning off to the right, off to the left? Let's say this leg is kind of coming down like this, so she's kind of sitting on her foot. So it's kind of like getting prepared for yoga or something. And that's going to be attached here, and this leg is going to be up like this. And I'm drawing the oval where that leg's attached. Maybe that leg's coming up this way, and then coming down like this in front here. This would be her other foot here, like so. And then her spine might be kind of bent like this, and her head might be like that. Maybe her shoulders are a little bit higher. Maybe she's kind of leaning forward. Let's change that. Hold on. Maybe she's kind of leaning forward a little bit, so her shoulders are like this, and her shoulders are coming forward. So whenever I draw shoulders coming forward, like you can draw someone's shoulders square like this, like a soldier. You can draw them pushed back like that, so the chest is popping out and the shoulders are going back like Superman or something. Or you can pull the shoulders coming forward like this because your arms are forward. Now your shoulders are forward like that, like you're more hunched back, relaxed, your shoulders are forward. Whenever I want to represent that in a sketch, I like to draw the shoulder, and I like to draw this kind of C curve like this. And that shows me the shoulders are coming forward. And maybe her arms. So if that's so, and her arms should be like this, let's say. Have her arms come like that. Maybe. Oh, maybe she's rubbing this leg. Maybe she hurt this leg. What if she hurt this leg, and so she's rubbing it? And then, so that would represent all of that shape right there. And then this shape over here would be the same. Like that. So see that shape right here, that kind of U shape? That's where her arms would be. And then if she had breasts, they'd be smashed because she's bringing both arms forward. So her breasts would be like smashed together like that. And then you might see some of her stomach right there. So something like that. And that's a good starting point. And then I would turn that down, make a new layer. I'm going to go darker. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit. I'm going to keep this very basic, so she's looking. Maybe she has a V-neck on or something like this. So I want to show a little bit of her cleavage. That's her shoulders there. Her neck would be covered, almost completely covered, maybe a little bit of her collarbones like this. And then her shirt would still be like wrinkled here, but you might be able to see. Actually, the wrinkles would change because they're kind of smashing the breast right there, so I might see a little bit of the wrinkles like that. And she has some wrinkles down there. The shirt's gonna come off like this. Maybe it's like this kind of shirt, so it only goes to, bunches up right there around her, a little past her elbows. Remember, this is still a quick sketch. I'm just want to make it a little bit more readable, so I'm just going over it with a little bit more detail. So that would represent her hands going over her leg, her ankle, her foot coming off this way. Maybe she has knee high, or well, maybe she's making capris, right? She has these kind of the capri type yoga pants on. Her shirt's going to come somewhere right about here, and then that's where this is now going to change to her pants. So stretch with a couple wrinkles like that. Kind of showing some wrinkles there in the clothing. Again, she's wearing capris, so it's going to be like that. I need to draw her leg. I have her leg kind of bent and broken. That looks weird. So I'd have to change that. So let's change that real quick. I didn't realize I did it. I didn't realize I drew it like that. So I'm going to draw her knee somewhere around here. This is going to be her leg coming like this. Straight through like that. There we go. So now I can draw the capris here. The wrinkles, stretch across her knee there. Then have her foot come right about here actually. We'll have her foot come out like that. So one foot will be over the other foot. This foot will be over that foot. Oops. I want to represent the toes. Come on. Wasn't drawing right there for some reason. Ankle. Oops. Notice these aren't nearly as detailed as the other ones because I don't want to spend too much time drawing, and also I want to make sure I just kind of capture. I want to show that you don't need to spend much time drawing to capture a cool pose for an idea, for a painting or drawing or something. And there you go. Now I can go back to the other layer and I can get rid of it, like so. Right, there we go. So now we got another cool little sketch. I could go ahead and free transform that. Oh, wrong layer. Cool. So there you go. You can see you did that pretty quickly, and now it reads pretty clearly. I think pretty much anyone can read what that what this drawing is, what's happening. I can maybe erase just a little bit of her hands there, so you can kind of see the hands are overlapping the leg, like that. And no problem, Eric. Thank you for stopping by and checking out the stream. Much appreciated. Yeah, I can understand that. Like, I used to be that way too. I used to be like very much a perfectionist, and I'd want to, like, my very first drawing, I'd want that to be the perfect drawing. But I found over time that it is better to start with a basic sketch. I mean, look how much better she looks than the original sketch I did. And she's very basic shapes. There's really no detail there. But look how much better that looked than the original sketch. So you start with just like a sloppy sketch, and then you could sketch over that. Like this one here is really sloppy still. But I can sketch over that, draw a character. I can use this and draw a character over that pose. So let's say the character is, dressed in clothing or something. I can draw that character over that very easily. And so yeah, I can easily turn this into a female. Most of the structures there. I just have to change it to a female body. So yeah, it's really cool to do that. So I recommend following that process. Do a quick sketch and then clean that sketch up, and then finally do your final drawing over that. Another thing you want before you do a final drawing, what you might want to do is make sure that all the proportions and stuff are accurate. Like for example, she's pretty accurate. I can take her proportions here, and I can say, yeah, that's about half. And then I can say that's about, see that right there is half. And then this another halfway mark here, which is about where the nipple should be, and that's Yeah, I can see all that seems to be working pretty good. Then you take the head. That's about half. Her head could probably be a little bit bigger. But yeah, so you can just kind of go through and make sure all the proportions are matching. Alright, so anyway, thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Hopefully you guys learned something from this stream. If you have and you dig the stream, do me a favor, go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. You might want to hit the notification bell because, you know, YouTube just doesn't like to notify people of anything. And even then they might not, so but at least if you hit the notification bell, you have a better chance of seeing me when I go live in the future or post a new video. And if you have if you guys think of any requests that you'd want to see in a live video or just in a video in general, if you think about something, just leave a comment in one of my videos saying, hey, I'd really like to see this in the future. So, all right, till next time, I'll see you guys later.